Hi lovelies. Today we're going to be talking about what's in my piercing emergency kit, how to build one, and just some bits and things that I think every pierced person should have on hand. So if you're interested in hearing about any of that, keep watching. A piercing emergency kit is what I call all of the stuff that you might need as a pierced person. Most of these are nice to have, but the number one thing that I don't think is negotiable and that everybody who has piercings should have at home in some form or another is Saline Solution. My personal favorite is the NeilMed, what's it called? Piercing Aftercare, but I also use the Oatsy by Easy Piercing, I think is how it's pronounced. If I can't get my hands on this one, which is the case right now, so I'm using this one. The reason I prefer this is because of the nozzle. It has like a, I don't know if you can even see, it has like a different kind of spray, and maybe something's going to come out. This is actually empty, but if you could see that, probably not. It has like a little bit of a stronger spray. I don't fucking know. This one definitely feels like pressure washing your piercings a little bit. This one has more, I don't know if doing this is gonna, spraying this in the fucking air, it's gonna show you anything, but this is more like, it's like a broader spray versus this one is more precise, if that makes sense. But the way more important thing is that you make sure that it is only saline. What do they say on this? Let me quote. Make sure it is a sterile isotonic saline solution and it has absolutely nothing else in it. No tea tree oil, no alcohol, no essential oils, nothing. Just saline solution, because anything else is going to irritate your piercings in the long run. And you should be using this to clean your piercings at least once a day, even if they're healed, even if you've had them for years. I know I didn't do this for a really long time because I was just convinced that after the initial healing period, you didn't have to take care of your piercings, but that's just not true, is it? So the number one thing for your piercing emergency kit that I think everyone should have, that's a non-negotiable, is some kind of saline solution, saline spray, whatever it is. Now, obviously, the saline spray is kind of a no-brainer, but it is still hands down the fastest way to help calm down irritated piercings and not cause more harm kind of in the long run. Think tea tree oil, think aspirin paste and all those fun things. Which, like, side note, don't put any of that shit on your piercings. Please just use saline spray and listen to your piercers and don't take advice from people who recommend tea tree oil or aspirin paste, even if they are your piercer, because that's just a sign you should find a different piercer. The second thing that I think everybody should have in their piercing emergency kits is spare jewellery. Now, I have a huge fucking box of it. You obviously don't need this much. I would say, honestly, depending on the amount of piercings you have, if you have like 2 or 3 piercings, just get a replacement for each one in the correct thickness. If you have many piercings, you could probably get away with only getting 1 of each gauge, 1 or 2 of each gauge. It just really depends on how many piercings you have. And if you have more than like 2 or 3 piercings, chances are you probably already have a good amount of jewelry at home anyway. What I really like to do is just keep the initial jewelry when I go in for my downsize. They usually just let you keep it anyway, but if they don't, just ask. So you have something that fits in, you know, whatever emergency, if you lose a ball or what have you. And like I said, if you have a lot of piercings, or you have your piercings for a couple of years, you will just naturally start to accumulate extra jewelry just from like switching to a ring or switching to a circular barbell or switching from silver to gold, or, you know, all of those scenarios is going to leave you with extra jewelry. I just think it's always helpful to have a backup. And if you have enough extras and you're out and about a lot, it can also be helpful to have 1 or 2 like attachments or librette posts in like your wallet, your purse, whatever. Just extra jewelry is always good. You don't need to go overboard like this. You also don't need an organizer. I've seen a couple of people who have like those bead storage thingies for their piercing jewelry. I wish I was that level of organized. I'm just not. I don't think I'll ever be. I just store all my things in little baggies. At least it's come to the point where everything is at least separated by category. So that's a win for me. That's a huge step forward. But yeah, extra jewelry. The next thing in my piercing emergency kit is rubber gloves. If you can, I highly recommend going for latex versus nitrile. These are nitrile. They're usually a little thinner and less stretchy. That's the main difference if you're not familiar with your gloves. The reason I would recommend latex over nitrile is just because nitrile are a little bit more slippery. And the reason I would suggest you have rubber gloves in your piercing emergency kit in the first place is to help you grab jewelry and like twist off balls or hold balls and librette posts and rings and whatever. They are really just for grip on your piercing jewelry if you need to change something or take something out or whatever. Gloves are super helpful for that. Nitrile gloves, don't get me wrong, they get the job done. They're better than just your fingers. Top tier, best grippy thing ever are latex gloves. In a pinch, a tissue will also work, just like a normal piece of tissue. Yeah, just to help grab attachments and clickers and all those fun things to open your piercings. Next up, in the same sort of why would you need that category, hemostats and ring openers and closers. These are definitely not something that I would label as an absolute complete essential. All of these are very much just nice to have. Now, ring openers, traditionally they don't look like this. I'll put a picture in of what they usually look like. Most of the time they have like little grooves down the side to help them not slip from the ring. But what these are is essentially like pliers, but they, like when you squeeze them together, they open. So that's what, you know, like if you have a thick ring or like a larger gauge ring or a clicker or anything, I use this mostly for my septum clicker because it's 4.5 millimeters. You just put it in and you push and then it will open your ring. And these are super helpful. I don't think I could use this ring or open this ring without these. If you have thicker rings in any of your piercings that aren't circular barbells but that are like closed, ring openers for sure. I don't have ring like closers because I don't find them necessary for clickers. They're mostly helpful for captive bead rings or segment rings, neither of which I fuck with, just because I like being able to put in and take out my rings all on my own, and I just haven't been able to do that ever with either of those methods. So ring openers, very good, very helpful. Absolutely not an essential. Next up are Haemostats. Again, not an essential, but on like the ranking, these would come right after rubber gloves if you were to ask me. Again, these are super helpful for holding your jewelry to help like keep it steady and have like a counterpart to if you're screwing something in, if that makes sense. These come in like a variety of different ends, and if you click them like this, they lock. So they don't open, right? Usually they're kind of like, they're like this, and if you click them, they stay closed. Which is not something, by the way, I would recommend you do. Don't close these. I've yanked a good few of my piercings, most of which were already irritated because I forgot I close these. These are the super thin ones. They're also a little bit curved. These are really good for super close fitting jewelry. I don't have a lot of those. I can usually get in between my skin and the labret post with these with no issues, but I know some people prefer like a super close fit, so for them I would recommend these. Yeah, they just grab onto your rings, your labret posts, your whatever, and they help you hold them so you can put on your attachment or take off your attachment. These are actually way more helpful for internally threaded jewelry versus threadless. I don't find that I need these as much with threadless jewelry. They can still be helpful even if you have all threadless. Up next on my list, I genuinely almost forgot to include this one, but it's a piercing pillow where you can, if you're a side sleeper and you have fresh ear piercings or just in general ear piercings that you shouldn't sleep on, this is super helpful. You just put your ear through the hole and then you can sleep on your side. As you may or may not know, I'm not a huge ear cartilage piercing person, so I did almost forget this, but I sleep on this every night since I re-pierced my second set of lobes because they're kind of like in cartilage territory, and it helps so much. Also with my conch stretches, if you don't want to or can't buy a piercing pillow, you can also use a travel pillow and just lay on that. It works the same. It slips around sometimes, but for the most part it does the same thing. I used a travel pillow for like 2 or 3 months before I got this because I didn't want to invest in this because I thought my second set of lobes was going to heal sooner and I could sleep on my side way sooner. Yeah, that didn't happen. I still need to sleep on this and it's been like 6 months. Or another alternative, if you don't have a travel pillow either, is to just take a scarf or like a rolled up t-shirt and like you like roll it up. I'm going to take this pillowcase as an example. Roll it up like this. Ideally it should be a little thicker than this, but you get the idea. And then you can either position it like this so there's a hole in the middle. If you have a scarf, you can also make a knot so it doesn't open up as easily. The scarf slash like border blanket situation, I have tried and it works if you're in a pinch, but I would definitely recommend, if you have the extra money for one, to just get one of these because it's so much simpler. I do put a pillowcase on it and I make sure the pillowcase is a little bigger. In this case it's a lot bigger, but I just kind of fold this and then I make a hole in it and then I can sleep like this. I've also can you see that? Yeah, I just make a hole in the middle where the hole is, and then I can still sleep on it and change the case so that I don't get acne on the side that I sleep on. I've also seen people on Reddit specifically recommend using t-shirts instead of pillowcases and just threading the armhole through the pillow hole, so that you can change it again and don't have all the sweat and the bacteria right in the pillow. But these are not a must. I wouldn't call them an essential, but they are so nice to have. I love this pillow. These last two things I'm going to talk about are more for new piercings. I feel like everything I've covered this far has just been for like overall piercing purposes and not necessarily only for fresh piercings. These next two are mostly for fresh piercings. So the next thing I'm going to be talking about are Q-tips and like cotton balls or cotton swabs. Cotton swabs are Q-tips. Whatever. Q-tips and cotton balls. Q-tips for cleaning your piercings, gently removing the crusts, and cotton balls mostly for soaking with saline. So you can do saline soaks or chamomile soaks without having to like stick your entire head in a bucket of chamomile tea or saline solution. And the very last thing in my piercing emergency kit are Painkillers. I think these are pretty self-explanatory. You always think you don't need them until you need them, and then you need them badly. So I just like having them around, not just for piercing related things, obviously, but they are also quite nice to have when one of your piercings acts up and it's like Sunday night or the night before a holiday or something, and nothing's going to be open. And those are all the things that I keep in my piercing emergency kit, and all the things that I would recommend you have in yours if you're thinking about maybe making one. If there's anything that's in your piercing kit that maybe I forgot to mention, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and maybe subscribing if you would like to see more from me. It would make me so happy, and I would love to have you here. And I will see you again in the next video. Bye!